check him. Oh, did Donald Trump tell the truth? Donald Trump tell the truth. And, of course, 90% of the time they said that he embellished or he didn't tell the truth, these fact checkers. Well, they fact-checked Joe Biden last night, as they should. The AP's fact check is out. And on COVID-19, Biden said, COVID-19, severe cases and death are down to a level not seen since July of last year. Well, that's an overstatement, according to the AP. They say, well, hospitalizations are indeed down from last summer. Deaths remain high. The Centers for Disease Control track showed 289 deaths on July 1 of 2022. This past Monday, they said there's 1,985 deaths. So, not really, Joe. On guns, Biden asked Congress to pass measures that said he would reduce gun violence, repeal the liability shield that makes gun manufacturers the only industry in America that can't be sued. The only one. Well, we know that's false because you can't sue the pharmaceutical industry. 1986, the act signed by Ronald Reagan made it where in 1986 he signed the Pharmaceutical Act where it made it where the liability is on the FDA, not on pharmaceutical companies, because the FDA approves the pharmaceuticals. So it says the government is the one liable if you get injured from pharmaceuticals, not the pharmaceutical companies, because the government gave them the AOK. So pharmaceutical companies cannot be sued. And by the way, gun manufacturers do have some legal protections from being held liable for injuries caused by criminal misuse of their weapons. But they're not exempt or immune from being sued. The law says there are exceptions where manufacturers or dealers can be held liable for damages their weapons cause, such as defects or damages in the design of gun, negligence, breach of contract, warranty regarding purchase of gun. Families of victims of the Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting in Newtown sued gunmaker Remington, alleging wrongful marketing of firearms, and got a $73 million settlement from Remington. So you can sue gun manufacturers there, President Biden, unlike what you said, that they're the only industry that can't be sued. On the economy, he promoted his $1 trillion infrastructure law. We're done talking about infrastructure for weeks. We're now talking about the infrastructure decade. We'll build a national network of 500,000 electric vehicle charging stations. The AP says, not so fast there, Sleepy Joe. The bipartisan legislation approved by Congress ended up providing just half of the $15 billion that Biden envisioned for his charging stations by 2030. His Build Back Better proposal aimed to fill the gap by adding back millions to pay for charging stations. That, of course, was dead because of cost. So that's not actually accurate, Joe. Biden on Intel's plans for new factory in Central Ohio, up to 8 state-of-the-art factories in one place, 10,000 new jobs. Well, the fact is that many factories are not imminent and may not ever be built. Earlier this year, Intel announced it would open 2 factories. The other 7,000 positions that it would employ 3,000, but the other 7,000 positions the project is slated to create are temporary construction jobs. It could build more factories, but they're not imminent. So he embellished a little bit there. He also said the pandemic disrupted the global supply chain. Well, according to the facts, it's to suggest that, and that's what's caused inflation. Well, that's not really accurate to suggest that more domestic manufacturing means less inflation. Manufactured products made overseas, particularly in countries like China or Mexico, where wages are lower, are generally cheaper than U.S.-made goods. Cheaper is lower inflation, so that's not actually correct. Biden on his infrastructure bill said the single biggest investment in history was a bipartisan effort. Well, it wasn't that historic, Joe. According to the AP fact checkers, his infrastructure bill was big, adding $550 billion in fresh spending on roads, bridges, and broadband internet, but measured as a proportion of the U.S. economy, is slightly below the 1.36 of the nation's gross domestic product that was spent on infrastructure on average during the first 4 years of Franklin Delano Roosevelt's New Deal. And it's even further below the roughly 2% on infrastructure in the late 70s and early 80s that were spent by Jimmy Carter and Ronald Reagan. So, Sleepy Joe wasn't really Honest Joe either. But that's politics, folks. It's to be expected, but I just wanted to point out that, every time Donald Trump spoke, the fact checkers come running out to tell you how big a liar Donald Trump was and how he he just twisted the truth and made it fit his narrative. They all do that, as is evidenced by AP's fact check last night of the State of the Union address by President Biden and how a lot of what he said was factually embellished and outright incorrect at times. So that's politics. It's not Donald Trump does not hold a corner, has not cornered the market on that. That is as old as time. And it started with Joe Biden with COVID, but the real one was the guns, that they're immune from being sued, which is just a lie. They're not immune from being sued. And they're not the only industry in America that can't be sued. The pharmaceutical industry can't be sued. Go look at the act that Ronald Reagan signed into law in 1986. Or there's a movie, you can go out and find it, just put in 1986, the act. There's a movie, a docudrama that was edited right here in Marion County by Brick City Creative Group, the video production group I own. We were the editors of that movie, and it explains why pharmaceutical companies can't be sued. It's very eye-opening docudrama. So Joe Biden not 100% accurate last night in his State of the Union address, but that's to be expected because that's politics. That's how these things work. Whether you like it or not, that's how politics are played in 2022. But that's how politics have been played for a very, very long time. You skirt the truth. You give partial truth. You make it fit. What do I always say? Don't let the truth get in the way of a good story. And that's their job, to sew a good story for you, to let you know how well we're doing as a country. We'll be right back after this timeout on WOCA, The Source.
Broadcasting from the Ocala International Airport, this is WOCA AM, W242CA FM, Ocala, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.